Hi students, this is Leah Hepburn, and this is a PowerPoint and audio presentation on process analysis essays, specifically referring to the two readings that we did for this week, which are Getting Coffee is Hard to Do by Stanley Fish and How to Decorate Your Room When You're Broke by Joshua Piven and others. Alright, so before we begin, let's review some things that the last mini lecture went over. So we went over process analysis essays, what that actually means, and the two different types. So the two different types here are first a set of instructions and second a process explanation, both of which are considered process analysis essays. So set of instructions, the purpose of a set of instructions is to help readers actually do a process. So not just to help them understand it, but to actually help them perform a given series of steps. A set of instructions should or is most likely written in the second person, meaning that you is the subject. It's written in the present tense and it uses the imperative mood. Using the imperative mood simply means you use commands. So for instance, my essay prompt for the process analysis essay is actually an example of a set of instructions and it is written in the imperative mood. I have sentences that say things like write an essay, conduct pre-writing, make an outline. And all three of those sentences are actually in the imperative mood. They are giving you a command. On the other hand, we have process explanations, and the purpose of a process explanation is to help readers understand how a process is carried out. So we're not trying to help them actually do a process, but we are trying to help them understand the process further. Process explanations are written either in the first person or the third person. First person, that's I or we, is going to be the subject. In third person, he, she, it, or they is going to be the subject of your sentences. In a process explanation, we can use present tense or past tense. It just depends on our purpose. So if we use present tense, this indicates that the process is ongoing. Your textbook actually uses the term habitual. So it's habitual or it's ongoing. It happens regularly. If it's written in the past tense, it means that you're discussing a particular time that this process took place. So the process in general might be reoccurring, it might happen on a regular schedule, but in your essay, if you're using past tense, this indicates that you're only talking about one time in particular that process took place. And process explanations do not use the imperative mood, so they don't make commands. They're not commanding the reader to do anything because the purpose of this type of essay isn't to help them actually do a process, it's just to help them understand it. All right, so if we turn to our book or your PDF, the PDF for both of these essays, it was posted online in the week 8 readings. If you open your book or view the PDF, you'll see on page 2, I think it's 286. Let me just check that real quick. Yes, it's 286. Getting Coffee is Hard to Do by Stanley Fish. So let's take a look at this essay. All right, so he begins the essay talking about the general problems of coordination. So I'm going to read the first paragraph here and you can follow along. A coordination problem, a term of art in economics and management, occurs when you have a task to perform. The task has multiple and shifting components. The time for completion is limited, and your performance is affected by the order and sequence of the actions you take. The trick is to manage it so the components don't bump into each other in ways that produce confusion, frustration, and inefficiency. So this comes as kind of an interesting start to an essay titled Getting Coffee is Hard to Do. It doesn't even mention coffee at all. But what it does do is it introduces the problem at hand, the real problem that he's actually talking about, and that is coordination problems. So his description of coordination problem in that first paragraph discusses the idea of having a lot of different parts, and the task of putting all those parts together is what creates the problem. So coordination means to put together. The problem is in putting together all these different parts. Paragraph 2. You will face a coordination problem if you are a general deploying troops, tanks, helicopters, food, tents, and medical supplies. or if you are the CEO of a large company juggling the demands of design, personnel, inventory, and production. So in this paragraph, he's giving examples. He says a general in the army or a chief executive officer of a large company, both of these people have coordination problems. And the examples he gives are actually immense coordination problems, right? We're talking about an army. We're talking about a large corporation. These are huge problems, huge coordination problems. They have many, many tasks, and those tasks are large tasks to complete. And then in paragraph 3, which is the thesis statement, he says, and these days you will face a coordination problem if you want to get a cup of coffee. So in paragraphs 1 and 2, he's really building up this idea of coordination problems. And he's talking about CEOs and armies and these big, immense ideas. And then when he gets to his thesis statement, it's almost humorous, right? Getting a cup of coffee is like being the general of the army. Getting a cup of coffee is like being the CEO of a large corporation. It seems kind of out of proportion. And yet that's his point. He's trying to let you know that this is actually bigger than just getting a cup of coffee. He wants to talk about something that's bigger than that. But he's using the process of getting a cup of coffee in order to show us that. So I've determined that the purpose of this essay is to show the readers that the, quote, burden of labor is shifting to the consumer. And he actually, that's his phrase, burden of labor. So let's take a look at some of the things that he means to describe this burden of labor. Let's take a look at paragraph 6. So paragraph 6 happens just after he has you, which is the point of view, right? This essay is written in the second person. You is the subject. He says that you walk into a coffee bar. And then we have paragraph 6. It turns out to be hard. First, you have to get in line, and you may have 1 or 2 people in front of you who are ordering a drink with more parts than an internal combustion engine. Something about double shot, skinny, breve, grande, ole, and a lot of other words that never pass my lips. If you are patient and stay in line, no bathroom breaks, you get to put in your order, but then you have to find a place to stand while you wait for it. There is no such place, so you shift your body first here and then there, trying not to get in the way of those you can't help get in the way of. Finally, the coffee arrives. All right, so here we see how it's a coordination problem, right? He has multiple parts, different components, and the task is to put all these things together, right? You have to put all these things together. He continues discussing this coordination problem farther down. So after you get your coffee, then you have the accessories, and then he continues in paragraph 10. But no amount of politeness and care is enough. After all, there's so many items to reach for. Lids, cup jackets, straws, napkins, stirrers, milk, half and half, water, sugar, Splenda, the waste paper basket, spoons. And you and your companions may strive for a ballet of courtesy, but what you end up performing is more like bumper cars. It's just a question of what will happen first, getting what you want or spilling the coffee you are trying to balance in one hand on the guy reaching over you. I won't even talk about the problem of finding a seat. All right, so in addition to the objective of ordering, which seems to be difficult, after you actually get your coffee, then additional coordination problems occur. You have to find all the stuff that you need in order to make your coffee complete. All of this is compared to paragraph 4. In paragraph 4, he explains how getting coffee used to be. And there's about 2 sentences in paragraph 4. Let's look at paragraph 4. It used to be that when you wanted a cup of coffee, you went into a nondescript place, fitted out largely in linoleum, formica, and neon, sat down at a counter, and, in response to a brisk, "What do you have, dear?" said, "Coffee and a cheese Danish." 20 seconds later, tops, they arrived, just as you were settling into the sports page. So all of that is being compared to this huge coordination problem of getting coffee, right? So you used to go into a diner, sit down, order, and there you go, coffee right in front of you. Now it's a coordination problem with a lot of little components that you have to put together. Once you have your coffee, then it's more components that you have to put together. Then we get to paragraph 12, and paragraph 12 is really where we see the purpose that he's trying to tell us. And this is where he talks about the burden of labor. He says,